Welcome to episode 7 of Parker Brothers Build the Boardwalk. In last week's episode, Georgiana Lamb disappeared. Tom and Arthur have ridden to Gretna Green to look for her and Otis Molyneux, where they are believed to have eloped. The Parker brothers have not yet returned. In the meantime, at Sanditon House, Lady Denham and Alison are in an upstairs room overlooking various muslins for summer gowns. Lady Denham's maid, Becca, assists them.
Upon my honour, you have a better selection of muslin than any draper in London. What is it all for?
Oh, I bought a few for Clara, a couple for Esther, but they did not get made up before they left Sanditon. It was such a good price last summer. How would you like to have some new gowns for summer balls?
You are very generous, my lady, but I do not know if I will be here for summer balls. Mamma may need us at home.
Poppycock! What is there to do in Willingdon in the summer? You have no sea bathing, no regattas. No, we shall get these made up for you, and you will be the belle of Sanditon.
That would be my sister, or Miss Lamb, not me. Please do not bother your ladyship. I would hate to leave just as they were finished.
You won't. Who else is going to wear this shade of yellow? Not I. I want to see these Indian muslins on someone with a figure who will do them justice. You must indulge me, as onerous as it may be.
As you wish, then, Lady Denham. How about this one for your new bonnet? It would match your pelisse.
Perhaps. Bring that one down as well, Becca. Make over one of my old ones. I will not have a bonnet made by Mrs. Jebb. She sticks grapes and pears all over them. I cannot help thinking it is more natural to have flowers grow out of one's head than fruit. What do you think on the subject, Miss Alison?
I prefer flowers as well.
Very wise.
Alison sees an archery set in the corner of the room and goes over to inspect it. She runs her fingers over the sleek wood of the old bow.
Are you fond of archery, Lady Denham?
Sir Harry and I like to take the bow out once in a while. We had a society for a short time, but there was not enough interest in Sanditon.
Would you mind if I made use of it? Archery is one of my favourite amusements.
You might as well. If you show any promise, I will teach you my secret methods. I was the best archeress in Sussex in my day.
The next morning, Alison comes into the breakfast room with a basket of flowers. Lady Denham is seated at the table, drinking her tea.
You've been out already? I wondered where you were. I see you found the narcissus.
They are my favourite flowers. You have so many.
They were my favourite as well. Mr. Berry put them in for me when I was married to Mr. Hollis. They are both dead and gone, but the flowers are still here.
I thought I might visit Mrs. Berry this morning. I will take her some flowers if you don't mind.
Suit yourself.
I saw the builders hard at work this morning, bright and early. Shall we go down after breakfast and see how the work is coming?
Why not? It is a fine day. They will work harder if they see I am taking notice.
After breakfast, Lady Denham and Alison proceed to the stables through the back gardens. Men are unloading stones from wagons, while hammers ring out from the new walls. Before she's walked the length of the garden, Lady Denham has had enough already.
What a ruckus! I do not need to listen to that cacophony. I'd rather hear Esther's attempt at a concerto, and that's saying something, for she plays remarkably ill.
Look, they are shut on the front facade. Isn't it exciting, seeing it change before your very eyes?
Seen enough change in my lifetime. You may go on with the inspection if you wish, Miss Allison. Afterwards, come and tell me what you find.
Lady Denham turns to go back into the house, while Allison continues on to the stables. Mr. Stringer rides up on horseback.
Good day to you, Miss Hayward.
Lady Denham turns around to see Mr. Stringer. She gives him a withering look before continuing into the house.
Hello, Mr. Stringer. I thought the plans for the stables were finished.
Aye, they are. Just checking on a few things for Mr. Milsham. Then we're off to the next project.
So you are leaving Sanditon then?
No, miss. We're starting the design of a cottage ornée for Colonel Babington. And then we will build one for Lord Grasmere.
I adore a cottage.
So does everyone, it seems. Mr. Parker's dream for Sanditon is unfolding after all.
I know he'll be pleased. My sister writes that they are all coming back soon.
And will you be staying on this summer, Miss Allison?
That depends on the Parkers, and upon Mama and Papa. We've been away a long while.
I hope you might stay for the first summer's ball. You've not yet seen our assembly rooms in all their glory. My father and I were the chief builders.
Were you? It must give you great pleasure to dance in them, then.
Aye, that it does, miss.
Allison pauses to look at the stables. Stringer dismounts and walks beside her, leading his horse by the reins.
Lady Denham sent me to inspect the men's work. She would attend herself, but she does not like the noise.
The noise does not bother you?
Well, it's not exactly Mozart, but it is the sound of progress. What is it that they're doing on the roof?
Ah, that is a cupola. Mr. Milsham gave me the design for that. With his oversight, of course.
My, Mr. Stringer. You are making the stables grander than the house.
It is for the viewing pleasure of those in the house.
When will it be finished?
Hopefully next week. They're building the staircase now. Just ask Robinson if you want to try it. He'll tell you when it's safe to go up.
After Allison takes her walk around the stables, she returns to Lady Denham in the house, who's at her desk writing out menus for the week.
Miss Allison, I have something to say to you.
Do you, Lady Denham?
I notice that young carpenter is sniffing around you like a bee on a blossom, and I want to put an end to it. You give him too much encouragement.
Do you think so, Mum?
I wouldn't say so if I didn't. Now, you are my companion, and I expect you to have a certain standard when it comes to who you allow in your circle. Carpenters are definitely far beneath you. I don't know why I even have to say it.
But, Lady Denham, he is so much more than a carpenter. He is the one who designed...
I know he is trying to come up in the world, isn't everybody? But you are not his ticket to a better life.
I agree. I believe he will make his own way.
I best not see you fraternizing with him as long as you are in this house. Is that understood?
Yes, Mum.
Oh, I know. He is handsome and has a certain rugged charm. That's what makes him so dangerous. But do you imagine he can support you? Do you think he will buy you Indian muslin or beautiful blue half boots? No, he will not. Leave him be, and he will learn that he must be content with girls of his own kind. Now, what shall we have for dinner tomorrow night? Mutton roast or duck?
Either will be fine, Mum. I'll just go rest for a while.
All right. I expect you up in an hour to wait upon the Parkers with me.
Yes, Mum.
Allison turns around dejectedly and goes to her room. That evening back in Sanditon, Allison makes her way back from the cliff tops where she's gone to watch the sunset. The half boots that had looked so pretty in the shop have proved not to be so good walking shoes after all. They're too tight, and after limping for a while, she sits down on a fallen log to remove them. She finds she has severe blisters, which are starting to bleed, and which are making putting the boots on quite uncomfortable. She decides to walk the rest of the way barefoot and removes her stockings. But with the first step, stubs her toe on a large rock in the path. She sits down again. Mr. Stringer happens upon her, rubbing her sore toe.
Are you hurt, miss?
Not much. Only a stub toe.
And so? You took off both of your shoes?
I also have some blisters.
Do you need something to bind them with?
Thank you. It'll be all right. It's not far now.
That's a good half-mile. That's too far to walk with even one blister.
I don't think I can put my boots back on.
Here. Take my neckcloth. And here's a handkerchief. And here, let me tie them around your feet so you won't get them dirty.
I'm all right, Mr. Stringer. Don't worry about me.
I don't like to see anyone suffer when there's no need. Here, give me your foot. I've seen a lady's ankle before, miss.
Alison blushes and gingerly pokes one foot out from under her skirt. Mr. Stringer gently inspects it.
Ouch! That does look bad. Why do you wear such tight shoes?
Mrs. Parker wanted to buy them for me, and they were so very pretty. I thought they would loosen up over time, but I guess it was just wishful thinking.
Mr. Stringer ties his handkerchief around one foot and his neckcloth around the other.
Are these the boots you wear all the time?
Mostly. I have one other pair of boots that are not fit to be seen. If I wear them around Lady Denham, she scolds me for looking shabby.
And you do not want to incur the wrath of Lady Denham.
Precisely. I brought one other pair of boots from home, but I gave them away right after Mrs. Parker bought me these.
Pardon me, miss, but that does not seem like a very wise decision.
No, it wasn't. But there was a family who was put out of work when the terrace burnt down, and Miss Diana took up a collection around the time Mary bought me these. I didn't see any reason to keep a second pair of nice boots when someone else had none.
That was good of you, miss, but you really cannot wear these any longer.
Yes, I'm afraid you're right.
I think you must buy another pair if you can't wear your old ones at Lady Denham's.
I will, as soon as Charlotte gets back. I really feel very foolish, Mr. Stringer.
Why would you feel foolish?
I spent all my money at the library as soon as I got here. It wasn't all for me. Some of it was for presents. It's just that we don't have very many shops in Willingdon. I got rather carried away.
I'm sure your sister will loan you some.
Oh yes, she will. And I have a couple pairs of dancing slippers I will use until then.
Come, let me help you back to the house. Is your toe feeling any better?
Yes, I think so, but do not trouble yourself.
It's no trouble at all, miss.
Stringer picks up Alison's boots and helps her to her feet. She takes his offered arm and they proceed slowly back.
Did you enjoy your time in London, Mr. Stringer?
I did. What I really enjoyed was the theatre. If I were to live there very long, it might really eat my pocketbook.
What did you see?
Midsummer Night's Dream and Much Ado About Nothing. But that is all so far.
You enjoy Shakespeare, then?
Aye, miss. He does have a way with words.
You surprise me, Mr. Stringer. I would not have expected you to be so interested in the arts.
Oh, yes. Architecture is as much an art as it is a science. Perhaps more so. Take the cupola. It has the particular purpose of ventilation, but an architect makes it into a focal point solely for beauty's sake. That is why I'm out this way this evening. The staircase is done, so I wanted to inspect it. Now you can watch your sunset from up in the cupola if you wish.
I will. It sounds wonderful.
Aye, it is. And while you're enjoying the view, you will say to yourself, what a brilliant architect it was to design such a beautiful observatory.
Your head is too much in the clouds, Mr. Stringer.
Aye, and so will yours be, miss, when you are up in the cupola.
Back in London, Charlotte searches over Georgiana's room for clues as to where she has disappeared. She inspects the letters on the desk, the ashes in the fireplace, the knickknacks on the mantel, and even under the bed. Precariously hanging on the helm of the bed quilt, she finds a cameo brooch, as if it were dropped accidentally. The silhouette is of a young girl. Charlotte examines it and calls for Mrs. Griffiths.
Yes, this is Georgiana's. She brought it back with her from Antigua. But wait. No, there's something different. It's very similar, but the silhouette is just not the same. This one looks like a child.
Would it be permissible to search through her bureau for other clues?
I see no reason why we should not, if it can help us find her.
They search the drawers, and Charlotte finds a matching cameo brooch in Georgiana's jewellery box. The only difference is that the silhouette is of a grown woman.
There. This one is Georgiana's. I've never seen the other one before now.
Maybe she kept it locked away as a keepsake.
I could not say. I wonder who it is.
Perhaps it is Georgiana as a child.
It's odd that she took it out of her jewellery box but did not take it with her.
Perhaps she dropped it, as if she were in a hurry. I think it could have fetched a fair price.
A few days after Georgiana's disappearance, Tom and Arthur return from Gretna Green to London, where they find Mary, Diana, and Charlotte in the drawing room of Bedford Place. Mary greets Tom with a kiss.
Tom, what news?
No trace, I'm afraid. No one had seen anyone of their description, and we went all the way to Gretna Green.
We left no stone unturned.
Arthur walks, stiff and bow-legged, to the seat on the sofa.
Oh, Arthur, what's wrong? Did you have another fall?
No, no, I'm just not used to riding for 5 days straight.
I shall send for Dr. Jonas immediately. He will set you right.
Can do for me, Diana. But I would be glad for a dish of cocoa.
Oh, of course, brother. And some toast?
Yes, please.
I will toast it myself.
With butter.
Of course, Arthur. You deserve a great mound of butter for all your exertions.
Did I mention that we rode for 5 days straight with scarcely a chance to eat a morsel?
Oh, you poor dear. I shall give you 2 great pats of butter. You must do all you can to regain your strength.
Yes, you are right, Diana, and perhaps 2 pieces of toast would be better.
Diana smiles and goes to work toasting the bread for her brother.
And how did you get along here, my dear?
We have not been idle. I've dispatched Mr. Tracy to speak to the magistrate. Unfortunately, nothing has been uncovered.
Very good of you to think of it, my dear.
Well, it was Charlotte's idea. She has been the most level-headed among us. Tom, you look utterly worn out. Do you need something to eat?
A cup of tea, my dear, would be nice.
Tom, you must eat something. You must keep up your strength.
No, Diana, just the tea will be fine, thank you.
I've invited Mrs. Griffiths and Mr. Tracy to dinner tonight.
Excellent. Right now, I am so dog-tired, I would just like to curl up in bed.
Excuse me, Mr. Parker. This just came for you. And Mr. Tracy sends his regrets for dinner, Mum. He is otherwise engaged this evening.
Thank you, Morgan. Could you bring a cup of tea for Mr. Parker and a dish of cocoa for Arthur?
Right away, Mum.
Morgan, did Mr. Tracy deliver the message himself?
Yes, but he said he would not stop. He had pressing business elsewhere.
Tom looks at the note and sighs.
What is it?
Tracy has found us a buyer for Bedford Place. I asked him to inquire for me last week. He seems to know a lot of people.
Must we sell it?
If we are to continue paying Lady Denham through the summer, I believe we must.
So soon, though.
The buyer is looking for immediate possession. The offer is only good for a week.
But this is so sudden, and at such a difficult time.
I don't see how I can refuse it, my dear.
Will we be going back to Sanditon then?
Oh, you know you and Mary are always welcome at Park Place. And Charlotte, too.
Thank you, Diana. We may take you up on that.
At dinner that night, Mrs. Griffiths, Charlotte, the Beauforts, and the Parker siblings sit in the Bedford Place dining room.
Mary tells me that the magistrate has found nothing of interest to point to Miss Lamb's whereabouts.
Yes, precisely. It is such a mystery.
What is Mr. Tracy's view of what happened?
Why, that she has run off with Mr. Molyneux, of course. That seems the most likely scheme. They could be sailing to New York by now.
When I was out shopping yesterday, I took the liberty of inquiring after Mr. Molyneux myself at his bookstall. According to his partner, he has been gone since the day Georgiana disappeared.
Does he know where?
Liverpool. To give a series of speeches for at least a week more.
And has Mr. Tracy sent word to Liverpool to search for Mr. Molyneux there?
Yes, but we have heard nothing as of yet.
And the brooch you found, Charlotte. What did the magistrate say about that?
We've not had a chance to show him.
Has he come back since the first inquiry?
Oh, no. Mr. Tracy handles everything. Such an attentive young man. He's been so busy with the investigation that he notifies us by post of what he is finding. We have not had an opportunity to show him the brooch.
I see.
Perhaps we might talk to the magistrate ourselves, Tom.
I believe you are right, Arthur. Tomorrow morning, first thing.
A couple of days later, Alison is doing her daily inspection of the work on the stables before breakfast, when Mr. Ridley notices her and gives her a message.
Miss Allison, young Stringer brought out your parcel from town last night.
My parcel?
He left it in the cupola. He said you were needing something from town, but didn't want Lady Denham to know of it.
Indeed. Thank you, Mr. Ridley.
Alison loses no time climbing to the cupola to see what the mysterious parcel is. She sees it on the top step, but when she reaches the uppermost landing, she is taken aback by the splendid view afforded by the height of the cupola. She leans out of the window to peer over the surrounding park and grounds of Sanditon House, out towards the horizon where the cliff tops border the distant shimmering water. After a few moments, she remembers the package and sits down on the steps to open it. It's a pair of plain but serviceable walking boots. Alison is chagrined.
Why did he have to find me that day? I will have to pay him back.
Alison tries them on, hoping they will not fit, so she will have some reason not to accept them, but they fit very well. She puts her worn slippers into the box and carries it down the stairs. At the bottom, she's startled to meet Mr. Stringer, who's supposed to be on his way back to London that day.
Good morning, Miss Allison.
Good morning, Mr. Stringer.
I see you found your parcel.
Thank you, but you did not need to do that.
Do they fit?
Perfectly, but I must pay you back.
Why must you pay me back?
It is not appropriate to give a young lady a present unless you are...
Unless you're what?
Unless you are courting her.
And if I was.
Don't be silly, Mr. Stringer. You know I cannot accept these, and you need the money for other things.
What's done is done, Miss Allison. I won't be asking Mr. Healy for my money back.
But you really shouldn't have. What will Lady Denham say?
She'll commend you for being a sensible girl.
I already am a sensible girl.
Who wears dancing slippers outdoors. Beg pardon, miss, but it's not very sensible.
I will pay you back then, as soon as Charlotte is back from London.
You shall do no such thing. Do you know who took the boots that you gave to Miss Diana's collection last fall?
No.
Kitty Robinson. The Robinsons have been my friends since I was a boy, and it plagued me something fierce when her brother was out of work after the fire.
But surely that was no fault of yours.
My father was the last one in the terrace, with a candle. Whether he tripped or his heart gave out, I don't know. But I feel responsible for leaving him there.
I am sure that no one blames you or your father.
I doubt that. Anyway, you helped out the Robinsons, and now I'm returning the favor by helping you out.
But I don't need help.
No. I suppose you would have managed just fine in your bloody stockings that other day.
I do thank you for that assistance the other day. Here are your handkerchiefs back.
Allison takes them out of her pocket and hands them to Stringer, who takes them unwillingly.
I've washed them, but one is still stained. I will buy you another one, once Charlotte returns from London.
Now look here. Why should you owe your sister any more than you owe me? Don't buy me another handkerchief. I'd rather use this one.
Very well. I thank you.
And don't worry about the boots. I'm just paying back the debt of a friend.
But there was no debt.
And there still isn't.
Mr. Stringer, I do not want to argue with you. I must pay you back, and there is an end to it.
Do you think yourself too high to accept a token of friendship?
Of friendship?
Do you consider me to be a friend?
I think there is quite a distance. That is, it would be rather difficult to...
I see. I cannot be your friend because I'm a stonemason. Because I'm beneath you in birth. And in education? In wealth, definitely. But for the ability to buy a pair of boots at Mr. Healy's. Your silence speaks volumes, Miss Haywood. Keep the shoes and do not repay me. I do not like to see young ladies of any station go barefoot on the cliff walk.
Mr. Stringer strides off without waiting for her reply. Allison is mortified. She calls after him.
Mr. Stringer!
Mr. Stringer continues walking and does not turn around. The next week, the Babingtons come to stay with Lady Denham at Sanditon House. Lady Denham and Allison greet them.
Hello, Aunt.
Lady Denham. Looking fetching as always.
Go along with you.
Miss Haywood, how do you do?
Well, Lady Babington, did you have a good journey?
Tolerable. How do you like Sanditon House?
It's very beautiful. Much grander than to what I am accustomed. I've gotten lost twice.
Oh, Esther, Miss Allison and I are reviving the Archery Society. You were the champion of Sanditon, as I recall.
Were you now?
I did win a few tournaments.
You have to show me.
You do not believe me?
No, I do not. I challenge you to a duel, Lady Babington.
You don't know what you are asking.
Miss Allison here has been putting me through my paces. I'm a bit rusty, but she will give you a run for your money, Esther.
Indeed. I welcome the competition. We could use some talent in this town. We had so little before.
Which is why we dissolved the society.
Wait until you see our uniforms. Lady Denham chose the colours.
I dare say the colours will rival any you have seen. Do you remember all the muslin I bought ahead last summer?
Yes. I recall there was a reason it was on sale.
The colours were a trifle brighter than what you usually wear.
Alison gets up to retrieve a lady's archery uniform, shouting several tones of yellow and green from a chair across the room. Lord Babington speaks to her quietly as Lady Denham and Esther continue to converse on the sofa.
I have not seen Lady Denham this animated since the arrival of the new Milshasses. Well done, Miss Haywood.
Esther sees Babington complimenting Alison and raises an eyebrow. After dinner, Alison plays a rollicking dance tune on the piano at Lady Denham's request.
This young lady does my instrument justice, Esther. I never understood why you turned your nose up at the music instructor. You had brains enough to learn.
He was an odious man. I loved to play the pianoforte before Herr Eichenbauer came, with his beady little eyes and clutching fingers.
In such a situation, a fan comes in handy for knuckle rapping.
Rather hard to hold a fan and do justice to Mozart.
Well, I wouldn't know. My bent ran to riding and archery, which are far better skills for keeping away unwanted attention. Well, I shall bid you good night. You'll have some target practice in the morning, Esther? I expect you to join us.
I have no objection, Aunt.
I will also say good night.
Good night, Miss Alison.
Lady Denham and Alison withdraw, while Lord Babington sits down at the pianoforte.
Esther, I've always enjoyed playing duets. Do you suppose your aunt has any?
I do not know any duets.
Esther walks out of the room, leaving Lord Babington alone at the pianoforte, plucking out a few notes. Esther turns her back at the door and looks at him. She contemplates coming back in, but he strikes up a tune and she decides to leave him alone. The next day, Babington and Esther join Lady Denham and Alison for archery practice amidst the grazing sheep on the lawn. Lady Denham walks up close to the target, draws her bow and entirely misses, scattering some bleating sheep. She barely hits the board the third time.
I see it's to be leg of lamb for dinner tonight.
Have you considered wearing spectacles, Aunt?
Spectacles? Why would I do that? I look like an old woman.
Esther and Babs smile at each other behind Lady Denham's back.
But they might keep your sheep alive.
Now, Esther, show Miss Haywood what you can do.
Esther shoots 3 arrows within the 9-point gold ring.
Well done, my love.
Lord Babington takes aim and shoots, but does not do quite so well.
I'm not as good as I remember. I concede to you, Lady Artemis.
Esther gives him a smile. Then Alison, without a word, steps up, draws her bow, and hits the 10-point gold ring all 3 times, ending the last one dead centre. Esther and Babington look up at her with surprise.
Did I not tell you?
I say, Miss Haywood, do they have an archery society in Wellington?
Of sorts, if you can call the Haywood cousins a society.
I say, good show.
With Esther and Miss Alison, Sanditon should be able to hold her own in a tournament.
Esther gives Alison a cold glance, which does not go unnoticed by Babington. As Lady Denham and Alison continue to practice at one target, Babington watches Esther as she draws her bow and continues to shoot at the second target.
Darling, you never cease to surprise me. You were quite good with the bow.
Quite good and very good are 2 different things. That girl shoots, plays, sews, visits the poor. But little Minx does everything well. She'll have my aunt twisted around her little finger before we know it. I cannot tell if she is human or angel.
You're worried about your inheritance, I think.
Maybe. A little.
Does it still matter so much, Lady Babington?
No, not anymore.
Do you know what I love about you? You are a perfect blend of human and angel, with just a touch of the devil.
Just a touch, Edward would say.
What would Edward say?
That I was the devil incarnate.
No, that cannot be. There's a beautiful light in your eyes. I know it can only be from heaven.
Save your breath to cool your porridge, Lord Babington.
Why should I? I have every right to compliment my wife.
That's quite enough for today. Any more, and I will despise you.
Then despise me if you dare. Indeed, you would not dare.
Lord Babington pulls his lady in for a kiss.
My aunt will catch you.
And do what? Disinherit? You are safe with me, Esther.
I think you are the devil.
What can I say? You bring out my true colors.
Back in London, Tom sits at his desk in the Bedford Place library, drinking a cup of tea. Arthur sits by the fire with his dish of cocoa, staring into the flames. Tom sighs, shakes his head, and sighs again, off in his own thoughts.
Something on your mind, Tom?
Several things. I wish Sydney were here to handle this misfortune of Miss Lamb's.
Can I help?
I don't know how you could. Besides, worrying about Miss Lamb, I must sell this place and, meanwhile, prepare for the Prince Regent's picnic. It's too much.
Tom notices an unopened letter on his desk. He absent-mindedly opens it and drops it on the desk, shaking his head in disbelief.
More bad news?
Mr. Hillier has died.
That was sudden.
Indeed, he is only a few years older than I am. Thank God I paid him before I left Sanditon. That's all I would need on my conscience.
I feel for Mrs. Hillier.
Yes, we'll have to see what we can do for her. Their son works the farm. I'll see if he can take his father's place, but he'll have to stay in his cottage. Mary and I may have to move back to Parker Downs if Sydney does not marry very soon.
Surely the sale of Bedford Place would be enough for a long time.
I hope so.
Tom, I've decided I'd like to have a place of my own. I like this house. I could match whatever price was offered. I could buy the furniture, too. That way, you don't have to bother with selling it.
Would you, Arthur? That's a capital idea. I would be so grateful to keep it in the family.
I may want to make a few alterations.
That's your prerogative as owner.
I've always liked Venetian windows.
Oh, you have a penchant for architecture too, then?
Oh, yes, and I would like a house of my own to indulge it.
We need not hurry to move, then.
Not on my account, but whenever you need the money, say the word.
The next morning, in the heart of London's business district, Otis Molyneux's partner, Joe Thomas, is putting out books for display in front of the bookshop when Otis walks up.
Otis, when did you get back?
Last night.
Did you have good attendance?
The crowds were not as large as we'd hoped, but I did sell several books, so the time was not entirely wasted. We'll keep hammering.
Someone came looking for you while you were gone. He didn't give his name.
What did he want?
He was interested in having you come speak. He was from Reading. He wanted to know when you would be back.
Did he leave an address?
No, he said he would return later. And there's something else. A young lady came around.
Georgiana?
A friend of hers, a Miss Haywood. She said Miss Lamb has been missing since last week.
No. What's being done to recover her?
They're working with the magistrate.
A poorly dressed man is watching Otis and Joe from across the street. Once they go into the store, he hurries off. Meanwhile, Georgiana Lamb watches carriages pass on an unfamiliar street from an upper story window of the house where she's staying. She tries the door of the apartment again, but it's been locked from the outside. She crosses the room back to the window, opens it and looks down. The height is too great a hazard to jump. She shuts the window, shivering with cold, and slumps down on the sofa. That evening, Sir Edward Denham climbs the stairs of his flat to his rooms, within a once opulent townhouse. When he opens the door, Georgiana Lamb sits up anxiously from the sofa to see who it might be.
What did you find out? Are they looking for me?
I saw a man lurking about. I think he's watching us. Really, it's past time we were off to Scotland. I cannot answer for what will happen if we stay in London.
What do you think they'll do to my aunt? Will they harm her?
I hope not, but you never know what such blackguards might do. Once we are married, I will hire the Bow Street runners to find her, but that will take a few more pounds than I have on hand.
Do you not see how a gentleman can be so poor that he must rely on his wife's money to bring justice for such evil?
I agree, but she is your aunt after all. Must we keep talking about money? We've been through all this. I want to do what's right by you and your family. And I will, I promise. I adore you, Georgiana.
Miss Lamb, to you.
Do you not see how fortunate it was that I was able to save you from that ruthless abductor? It was quite miraculous that I happened upon you. Dearest, loveliest Georgiana.
Yes, it was. Quite coincidental. But I am still Miss Lamb to you.
As you wish. I brought you the book you wanted, and some others as well.
Georgiana eagerly takes up the book he gives her, entitled An African Abroad by Otis Molyneux, and reverently touches the cover and binding before opening it.
I see you ate all the sweeties.
I'm not a child to be bought with candy.
Still, you ate them, my dear.
There was nothing else to eat besides that old bread. I could break my teeth on it.
Pray do not eat it then. Your smile is your prettiest feature. I would like to look at it once in a while.
Georgiana ignores him. There's a multitude of candy papers scattered about the table. Sir Edward picks up a wrapper, hoping to find a piece of candy still in it, but it's empty. He throws it back on the table, looking hungry. Georgiana goes back to her book. Sir Edward picks up the other books to try and interest her with them.
Do you want to even see the other ones? There's Cowper, the sonnets of Shakespeare. Then I will read you one of my favorite sonnets then. Number 36. Let me confess that we two must be twain.
Sir Edward stops reading to gently take Otis's book from Georgiana's hand.
You may read that tomorrow, my sweet. Listen to this sonnet. I have been told my voice is very soothing.
Who told you that?
Let me confess that we two must be twain. although our undivided loves are one. No, wait, there's a better one here. That God forbid that made me first your slave, I should in thought control your times of pleasure. Or at your hand the account of hours to crave, being your vassal bound to stay your leisure.
There's a loud knock at the door.
Who's there?
A coarsely dressed man comes in, the same man who was watching at the bookstore.
Boss says time's up. I'll take her from here.
The hell you will!
Who is this man?
He's the one who's been lurking about.
Do you know him?
No, I do not. If you have business with me, we can discuss it downstairs.
No, you will discuss it here. I am the one whom it affects.
Sure, if I care. Look, you've had enough time. I can't keep this charade going any longer, or the boss will have my hide.
What is he talking about?
He's figured out where you are, and I've been paying him to keep you the information from your abductors. Give me one more night. Surely you could use a few more shillings.
The man walks over to Georgiana and grabs her by the arm. She tries to pull away, but he forcibly picks her up, pinning down her arms.
Aren't you going to do something?
See here now! Unhand her!
What it want to ya?
I have £3 here.
The man snorts and shakes his head and starts to drag Georgiana to the door.
Look, I can send for my pearls in the morning. They're in a deposit box.
That's more like it. I'd rather do business with the loss than with you, Sir Edward. I'll be here first thing in the morning, and we'll go to the banker's together. And I will take that £3 now, in earnest.
Disgusted, Sir Edward takes the money out of his coat pocket and gives it to him.
It's a pleasure doing business with you, Mr. Denham.
That's Sir Edward.
Right, and I'm the Prince of Wales.
How long can this continue?
It can't. He'll bleed us both dry. We must be off to Scotland before morning. Then we'll turn round and pursue these fiends with funds in hand. But how are we to get there? I just gave up my last £3.
Georgiana looks at him coldly. He returns her look with an unblinking stare.
I have a little money. Take it.
Does this mean, Miss Lamb, that you are consenting to marry me?
Well, what choice do I have? I must try to save my aunt if I can. Lord knows my reputation's already ruined.
It need not have been, had we left last week. I had hoped there was a little bit of regard for me in there somewhere, a bit of gratitude, perhaps.
You are incredibly optimistic.
Come now. At least you find me handsome.
You are slightly better than Mr. Howard.
Now your wit is coming out. I think you will find, my dearest Georgiana, that I am far better company than any of the men you have met in your 19 years.
20. I turn 20 tomorrow.
Ah. Happy birthday, my dear. We shall have a prodigious celebration once we are married. Except I'm afraid it will have to wait until we can get the loan against your inheritance. Your money will get us to Gretna Green. We will have to sell something in order to get back until we can get the loan.
You can sell these if you must.
You are a cunning little thing. I underestimated you. Wit, beauty, and ingenuity. You get better and better.
Sir Edward heads towards the bedroom.
We'll catch the first coach in the morning. Try to get some sleep now, my dear.
Sir Edward looks at her longingly, undecided about what more he can say to win her over.
Well, good night, my sweet.
Georgiana gives him a disgusted look, plumps her pillow with loud thump, and leans back on the sofa. That night, while Sir Edward snores softly in his bed, Georgiana sits wide awake on the couch in the adjoining room. She goes to the window and looks down at the street lamps and at the passing crier who calls out, 10 o'clock and all is well. She goes back to the sofa and sits down, but remains bolt upright with her chin in her hand, thinking of a way to escape. After a while, she dozes off, dreaming about the prior summer when she and Otis would meet for picnics and he would sing to her. She smiles and stirs in her sleep as she hears a voice in the distance. It sounds just like Otis.
When cockle shells turn silver bells, when will my love turn back to me?
Georgiana wakes up with a start. She gets up to peer out of the window, then opens it and looks down to the street below. Out of the shadows, a man emerges, singing, looking at the townhouse intently. She recognises the song.
Then will my love return to me.
Otis Molyneux passes by the house, still looking at it intently. He sees the open window. He turns around and walks back to stand in front of it and waits quietly.
Otis!
Georgiana.
Yes!
Oh, thank God. Are you all right?
Yes. Wait there for me.
All right.
Georgiana pulls on her hooded cloak and tiptoes over to the sleeping Edward. He pulls the keys ever so gently from his coat pocket and unlocks the door. As she emerges from the front door of the house, Otis catches her hand and they run into the shadows. When they're safely away, they stop to catch their breath.
Are you all right? Did anyone harm you?
I'm all right. But if I'm found, they will only try to take me again. They are holding my aunt hostage somewhere and are threatening to harm her if I do not marry. I do not even know who it is. Sir Edward rescued me from them, but he will only help me rescue my aunt if I elope with him.
You have been staying with Sir Edward Denham?
Yes. The carriage brought me here, and he happened to be walking by. It was very suspicious. He knocked down the first man who took me, and I was too scared to show my face after that for fear harm would come to my aunt, or that they would kidnap me again.
Are you speaking of your aunt in Antigua?
Yes. I don't know how they got it, but they sent me her brooch, the one that I gave her as a girl. So they know where she is, and I'm afraid that they've kidnapped her as well. Where shall we go? I'm afraid Sir Edward will find that I've gone.
My friend's house. is nearby. You remember Joe that runs the bookstore with me? He and his wife live just down the street. We will go there tonight, and in the morning, I will take you back home. You'll be safer there than in this part of town.
He takes her hand and pulls her close to him in the shadows as a cab rumbles by.
Otis, I don't want to go home.
It will be for the best. I could take you to the Parkers, if that is better. They probably think I am your abductor.
I knew it wasn't your idea to kidnap me. But how did you find me?
I was suspicious when I saw the same tramp hanging around the bookstore that was loitering outside of Sir Edward's. I think someone is trying to frame me for the abduction.
Can we not run away now to Canada or New York?
I do not have the fare, and I will never again invoke your name for a loan. I think we must bide our time until you are of age, and even then, your inheritance will, fortunately.
Yes.
We will talk of it later. Come, let's get you to safety.
That night, Joe's wife gives Georgiana her own bed and comes back to the parlour after she falls asleep.
She's exhausted, poor lamb. She was asleep as soon as she hit the pillow.
Thank you, Amelia.
It is nothing. Thank God you found her.
Yes.
Will you take her back to her governess then?
She wants to go to America.
Is that something you are considering?
Would you continue your work in America?
There are abolition societies there as well as here.
And what happens when she comes into her money next year? What will you do with it?
Oh, eat a little better, I suppose. Is there anything wrong with that?
No, not legally, but I don't think that is what you are asking.
No. I cannot live on the money earned from the labor of my brothers.
I'm glad to hear you say it, Otis.
I got sidetracked last summer. I don't know what I was thinking by using Georgiana's name.
I don't either.
I was trying to maintain an appearance of wealth, but relying on the hand of fate proved ill-fated. I lost her by trying to appear worthy of her.
You have done well to put those habits behind you, Otis.
Even if you could justify living on her fortune, it would do great harm to our work in the Sons of Africa. How can you speak against slavery and enjoy the spoils at the same time?
I am afraid you would lose all the credibility, my friend.
Would she ever give up her inheritance?
How can I ask her to do that? It's 100,000 pounds. She's learned to live a certain way. I do not see how she could endure such a deprivation. There's only one thing to do, I think.
Let her go.
Yes.
I am sorry, my friend.
You're doing the right thing. There is too much at stake. We are gaining momentum now. I think we could eradicate this foul practice in our lifetime. Just think of that, Otis, when it seems too hard.
Georgiana, unbeknownst to the others, is listening at the door. She creeps back to her bed and the tears trickle down onto her pillow. The next morning, Otis takes Georgiana to Bedford Place. Charlotte is first on the scene and hugs Georgiana warmly.
So glad you came back. And Mr. Molyneux, good morning.
Otis is the one who found me.
Miss Lamb, thank God you're all right. And this is...
Otis Molyneux. He rescued me from Sir Edward's.
Sir Edward? Sir Edward Denham?
Yes.
Sir Edward Denham.
For a moment, there is profound silence while Tom, Mary and Charlotte process this astounding piece of news.
Well, shall we all sit down? Miss Lamb must be exhausted.
So, Miss Lamb, you've been in London all this time?
Yes. I received a note last week after Mrs. Griffiths had gone out shopping. I thought it was from Otis at first. It had said he had urgent news of my aunt that he needed to tell me. The brooch that I had given her before I left Antigua was in the envelope, so I knew that someone had stolen it from her. When I went out to the street, I was told to get into a carriage. I was afraid for her life, so I complied, and I was taken to another part of town. When I stepped down from the carriage, Sir Edward was passing by, so I called to him, and he got me away from the man. He hid me in his rooms these past few days, all the while trying to convince me to elope with him.
I bet that was a futile pursuit.
Normally, yes, but I was afraid for my aunt. I was afraid that I would be recaptured and made to marry someone even worse. Sir Edward is simpering and oily, but at least he's not cruel. He was willing, so he said, to help me bring the criminals to justice by way of a private investigation. But he needed my money to do it. We were to leave for Gretna Green this morning, but thank goodness Otis found me in the nick of time.
Miss Lamb, we are so happy that you are safe. Indeed, it is a load off my mind.
But her aunt?
We don't know what these people might do to her.
Your aunt?
The one in Antigua.
Well, it would be a while before they could get to Antigua, and longer still before we would hear of it once they did.
But maybe they brought her to England. They sent me the brooch and a long lock of her hair.
That seems rather unlikely.
What now, then?
I want my abductor brought to justice, and I need to know that my aunt is safe.
When Sidney gets here, perhaps he will have some news of her. He should be here any day now.
Could you hire a private investigator, Mr. Parker?
I would be very grateful.
Of course. The Bow Street runners are credible for this sort of situation. I had planned to leave for Sanditon tomorrow, but we could delay a few days. I think you'd better come with us, Miss Lamb. You will be safer there.
And you must stay with us until then. Have you had any breakfast?
Some, but I am rather hungry.
I will be at the bookstall if you need me. I had better go.
Georgiana takes Otis's hand to prevent him from leaving. He gives her a long, sad look and kisses her hand. With much reluctance, Georgiana releases him. Tom walks him to the hall and extends his hand to Otis.
Thank you, Mr. Molyneux. We are greatly indebted to you, and on my brother Sidney's behalf, I thank you.
It is nothing. I am the one who owes him. I will go out the back, if I may. If anyone sees me, it may alert them to Miss Lamb's being here. Her location must remain a secret until her abductor is found. You will take good care of her, Mr. Parker.
Of course. Good day, Mr. Molyneux.
Mary leads Georgiana to the breakfast room, and the others follow. Otis has just departed from the back servants' entrance when Sidney Parker comes in from the front hall, unannounced.
Good morning. Rather late for breakfast, is it not? Were you out dancing all night?
Tom comes back from seeing Otis out. For a moment, everyone is stunned.
Sidney!
Sidney!
Thank you for watching episode 7 of the Parker Brothers Build the Boardwalk. Join us next week to find out what news Sydney has brought from Antigua. From all of us at DIY Austen Drama, we bid you a pleasant week.
The water is wide, I cannot cross o'er, neither have I wings to fly. Give me a boat that can carry two, and both shall row. A ship there is, and she sails the sea. She's loaded deep as deep can be, but not so deep as the love I'm in. I know not if I sink or swim. Must I go bound while you go free?
Must I love a man who does not love me?
Must I be born with so little art as to love a man? When cockle shells turn silver bells, then will my love come back to me. When roses bloom in winter's gloom, then shall my return to me. Forbid it, Lord, that I should boast, save in the cross of Christ my King. All the vain things that charm me most, I sacrifice them to